around here, and I'd like to address my good friend and shield brother, JoergSprave. Thank you once again for helping save my channel. YouTube took me down over a silly video, pretty much like they did you. And we helped you out back in the day, but you helped me out and got my channel back up, and I thank you once again. I would also like to address you with a challenge, Viking to Viking challenge. I noticed you have a Viking sword launcher, and that you talk about throwing them in the sagas. And I do know of an account in the sagas. There is the story of the Veilson, and the warrior throws the spear so hard that it goes into the man, and the man's arms fly back, and it sounds like he kicks up in the air, and his feet fly up, and he lands on his back, and most likely dead is laid out in the way they describe it, from one sword. So that's not that amazing to me, because I know if the man was unarmored, that the sword could easily do that if thrown properly, and the man was able to do this. But the whole thing is, I'd like to know what would happen over mail armor on a proper target. When you did your test with your launcher, you put the mail armor over a wooden skjaldur like this, a wooden shield. And the problem with that is then the mail can't give like it's supposed to with the human body, and it has no padding under it, and it can be cut easily like a chopping block against the wood. So what I would like to see is let's both use a piece of 2.5-inch ballistics gelatin and put it on the shield. And then after we do that, we put that on, we cover it with a piece of packing blanket. The reason I say a packing blanket is good gambesons, or even light gambesons that people buy nowadays are hard to come by. But the packing blanket's very similar in a lot of ways, especially under mail. It will mimic that effect, being batted and padded, and allow it to give, to work properly. So we're going to put our riveted and solid roll mail over that, and we try to see if we can penetrate that and go into the actual target. How far we go into the gel or into the actual shield itself. The launcher probably will. But I want to see it. I'm curious. What I've done is I've been practicing and testing stuff, and that's what I do here on my channel. And yes, it was done historically. We know this. What I started off by using practice sword, much like you do in your launcher, except not having it sharpened. And I threw into my targets over here, and threw in so deep without a point that I could barely pull it out. I also realized that it has a gyroscopic effect, much like a bullet or a football, so it goes straight if it's thrown by hand. So I think that gives me a little bit of an advantage against the launcher, because I can put that effect on it and possibly get a more straight hit. I don't know if that will help as much, but from what I know throwing, it seems to. The more straight on you hit, the more energy is transferred directly to the point straight in. I want to use a sword that's pattern welded. This is like a late migrational era blade or an early Viking age blade. I'm going to use a pattern welded blade like this that I can put a good edge on. But this is my favorite, so I'm not going to use this one because it's in too good a shape and I love it so much. I've got a Type 10 blade like it right up here with, believe it or not, better quillions for this idea, because I'm going to be throwing it like an axolotl, or launching it, either from the side or straight overhead. Now the reason why is I found this is the best way to throw it, and that's causing the spin and gives you more energy and allows you to deal with the balance. But also, if you look, there is a medieval sword manual or arms manual by an Italian sword master, the FIORE de LIBERI, and he demonstrates the technique in the book. One of his students is showing that the sword is here and it becomes back like this to be thrown, and he possibly, I think, is holding like this because they did a lot of half swording at that time period, and that was the time period of plate armor. So you see this as them using it as a technique. Someone might do this to you. He even brings up that if he was armored, that he could still easily parry it, but he stands in a position that allows him to be more defensive. So we definitely know that it was used, and it might pierce plate armor, and I'm really curious to try that out. I want to see if it can actually pierce something like that. That would be awesome as well. But today our main challenge is to see if we can go through that mail into our target for a Viking Age test. And to see how well I do, pit me against a machine. I think that's going to be very entertaining, and I can't wait to see your results. So let's get started. Oh. Aim low. That went all the way through the target into the post, so this is going to be difficult to remove. But certainly impales his shield and the gambeson. That would clean through and part of the wood on the back side that I used to secure. Very nasty indeed. Ooh! Well, it certainly does some damage. This center boss is probably about 16 gauge. We went through the metal center boss. I challenge you to do that one, Joerg. Not a bad one if you ask me. You still have to hit that nail. Oh, perfect. That was the hit I was going for. We went completely through the nail, and it looks as if I cut several rings. So, no, did it impale the entire target and go out the back side? No, but that is a deep wound into the gel, probably all the way to the back of the shield. All right, Joerg, this is what I would like to see you test, is the ballistics gelatin with the padding. That could be a light padding, because I know you have more power than I do, most likely. With a proper hit, maybe you will get something like this. Maybe it'll go all the way out the shield. Mine didn't. It stopped at the shield, you could tell. We have a ring here that was cut in 2 places. Don't know where the rest of it is. It might be inside the hole there. We could take it apart and examine it. But I'm pretty sure that this went all the way to the back side. I'm almost positive. Because I heard it hit the wood and it bounced out. And a hole that wide in the mail will accommodate almost the entire blade all the way, if you look. I mean, it would allow the blade just to slip right inside. And we've got a hole through this. I am extremely impressed. I didn't expect it to be sticking out of the front of the center boss. That shocked me. I had to retouch up the blade slightly before I threw and got the proper hit here. Our gel is coming loose here. Yo, look at that. I'm going to say, because gel tends to stretch a little bit, yeah, that we made it all the way.
We'll know for sure when we open it, pull it out.
Oh yeah. It's all the way out the back and into the wood. It bounced out, but let's see how deep it went into the wood. We can retrace this. The blade went through here, out the back about that wide, and split the back of the shield. If you look behind it, it split the back of the shield and stopped and bounced out. Due to it slowing it down that much instead of going through the shield like most of the shield shots, it actually bounced because this does have some give. But yes, that's a kill. I would say that is definitely a kill. If a man was hit with that type of throw and you didn't miss and waste your weapon, I think that would do it. But I wonder what the actual launcher can do. I think it'll probably go through the shield and another man behind it. But who knows? Well, that concludes our testing, and I think some of our theories were proven correct. Like it could make it through the 16 gauge shaped metal umbo or boss on the skjolder, the shield. It actually pierced it. I was in shock. I did not expect that kind of penetration. But I guess with that extra weight from the sword being thrown instead of it being a lighter spear, it has even more penetrative power with a good edge on it. Also, penetrating the mail for being thrown by a human, a man, not a machine, and going through the mail, cutting out like 3 rings and then actually hitting the shield, busting the back slightly and sticking in it and then bouncing out, that is still impressive. I'm sorry, I know your machine, especially if you upgrade it, may be able to go clean through and out the back side. I'm still impressed that that would have probably taken a man and mail out if it landed properly. I think your biggest problem would be throwing your sword and losing it if you missed or messed up in the heat of battle and raged and everything. You know, you could mess up where I'm sure the launcher would. So those 2 things were a lot of fun. Of course, it went through the shield many times, being only a little over 1/4 inch thick and laminated. Not laminated a lot, and it wasn't covered with rawhide. I was covered with linens, but still, I think it was a good representation of a lot of Viking Age shields designed to trap blades, and it did well. It actually went through it. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the video, and I'm anxious to see your reply, Joerg. And as always, farewell. into the plywood.